We have a big topic this week. The last couple of weeks, we've been looking at MMA fighting and just in general, the competition in that sport. And yesterday was a major event for, I would say, MMA and boxing, as there's a massive shift going on.
I wouldn't say it's a massive shift, but what Davis is alluding to is the Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. Jake Paul has been a huge disruptor in the boxing scene and the MMA scene this past year. He's been chirping Dana White, chirping UFC fighters, and he just knocked Tyron Woodley out cold last night, which was crazy.
Yes. So maybe we'll go with a little build-up right here. First of all, we've got to say why we're wearing suits. We had a family event for Christmas, which was awesome. We still have the suits on, so we figured we'd come in looking a little bit more professional. And in general, when you see people breaking down boxing and mixed martial arts, a lot of times they're dressed up because these are major events. But Brent, can you give us a little bit of background on the Jake Paul story and how it's come to this point?
Yeah, so from my knowledge, it started with YouTubers boxing. So I think it was back in 2018. His brother Logan and him fought two British YouTuber boxers, Deji and KSI. And I guess they sold out an arena over in the UK. It was an amateur match, so they were wearing headgear. Jake Paul fought the younger brother, which was Deji, and then Logan fought the older brother, KSI. So it was Battle of America and Britain, YouTubers, brothers. So that's when he got into it, I believe. And he won his fight. Logan had a draw against KSI. But then he fights another YouTuber by Gibb. I want to probably say a couple months later, but it was a pro fight, so no headgear. Knocks out Gibb. And then a couple months after that, he fights Nate Robinson back in November of 2020. Knocks Nate Robinson out. That shook the world up.
Yes.
That was crazy.
I mean, Nate Robinson's a top-level athlete. Great football player in college, great basketball player, and obviously he became an NBA star who won multiple slam dunk contests, I believe, right?
Yeah.
At least one.
Yeah, I mean, he was a legend. So then that bumped his stock up. Because he's just been calling out people. I'm pretty sure it's all an act. Because he's an entertainer and he's an actor. So now he knows what triggers people. So he's just hitting it. But yeah, so then everyone was saying he has to fight a real fighter. So first it came up like he was fighting YouTubers. Then he was had a loud mouth. Everyone said, oh, you got to fight a real athlete. So then wisely, Nate Robinson calls him out. No boxing experience. Picks him. Knocks Nate out. Now everyone's saying you got to fight a real fighter. Wisely, he picks Ben Askren, who is primarily a wrestler, has no striking game, but has a bunch of accolades in MMA. So everyone's like, oh, Ben Askren can't lose to Jake Paul. It's not possible. Ben Askren gets knocked out in the first round.
A big knockout.
Yeah, huge knockout. But then there's an altercation because Tyron Woodley's boys with Ben Askren because they wrestled in college. And in boxing, you have to send somebody over to the other opponent's locker room to watch the boxer get his hands wrapped up. So Tyron Woodley was sent over to Jake Paul's locker room to watch Jake get his hands wrapped. And Tyron got a little back and forth with Jake Paul's team. So then that's how the fight came up. So then they fought back in August. Went 8 rounds. Jake Paul won by decision. Supposed to fight Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury backs out from a broken rib and a chest infection. So then Tyron comes in 2 weeks' notice. It was kind of a slow fight up until the 6th round. And then 6th round, Jake Paul just dropped Tyron.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I knew all that.
That was a big knockout. Brand's got the knowledge, whether it's YouTube or fighting, he follows it.
I just think it's hard to wrap my mind around what's going on.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Tyron Woodley's background and how it ended with Jake Paul in the 6th round hitting him with a huge right hook and knocking him out cold. I mean, he went down. It was like he was doing the mummy off the diving board. He was flat on his face. That was craziness. So can you give us a little bit of background on Tyron Woodley? Because he is a top-level mixed martial arts fighter.
Yeah, I don't know too much, but from what I know is that he wrestled D1. So he's a tough dude. And then he was a 5-time UFC champ. When I say 5-time, he defended. I don't know if it counts where the first time's when you win it and then you defend it 4 times.
Yes.
But 5-time UFC champ at 170. And then he fought Kamaru Usman, who's the champ right now at 170. Monster. A couple years back, lost, and that was his first loss in a while. And he's gone on a fat losing streak. He lost to Kamara, and I think he lost 3 other times, and he got dropped by the UFC. I don't know if his contract ended, but he got kicked out. I don't know what happened, but he left the UFC on a 4-fight losing streak. and then he's now 0-2 as a professional boxer.
which is just
He's
mind-boggling.
like 40 years old though.
Yes.
But it is mind-boggling.
He's definitely older. We'll get into size mismatch as well. But just in terms of the athleticism, you have Tyron Woodley. I looked up. He was a 2-time All-American at Missouri. This guy is a serious athlete coming out there. I mean, we see it from the wrestlers we know. They've got serious moves, and their work ethic is unbelievable. He goes on. He's a UFC champion. So he's a top caliber athlete. He has fighting experience, probably more on the ground, grappling. But still, he's getting in there. And we were watching the fight. He did not look good at all. And he's in there. It looks like he's trying to wrestle. He's hugging Jake Paul the whole time. And all of a sudden, Jake Paul hits him with this huge right hook. And before you know it, this person who's supposed to be a great fighter, and a lot of times you hear people say, oh, you don't want to fight a mixed martial arts fighter in a bar. And then you've got this guy, Jake Paul, YouTuber, with only a handful of fights, knocking him out. And is this embarrassing to the world of mixed martial arts? Is this just a case it's a completely different sport? Or is Jake Paul just bigger than everyone he's fighting?
It's a combination. My take on it is that a lot of people are underestimating Jake Paul.
Yes.
First of all, I mean, he brought it up. They're not bad athletes. He's a big dude. He's probably like 6 feet, walks around at 210. His brother was a D1 wrestler. But they got into YouTube, so they never pursued their athletic careers. Okay. Also, he has nasty coaches. That guy, BJ Flores, I looked into him, but he was 34-4 as a pro boxer, amateur national champ. He's got another guy named Jalen Love, who was also a very good boxer, fought under Floyd Mayweather for a little bit. And he has the resources, and I mean, it seems like he's working hard. From what he says and what his coaches say, that he does have not a lot of experience, but he just spars a lot. So then he's getting his experience in the gym. I mean, I don't think I guess it's like saying, oh yeah, Tiger Woods is the best golfer ever, but if he went into a long drive contest against Bryson DeChambeau, he'd lose.
Yes, it's just a different aspect of
fighting. But then a lot of these MMA fighters are coming in because they have that boxing background in a way, and they're overlooking Jake Paul. It's also a fat payday.
Yes.
There's a lot of factors, man, but it's mind-blowing.
Yes. Yeah, there's so many storylines that are coming up out of this fight, and I feel like everyone's talking about it. Do you have an interesting take on it? It sounds like for you, you're saying that we should see Jake Paul. He's got great coaching behind him, good strategy. It sounds like he's got great promoters lining up these fights.
He's his own promoter, dude.
Yes.
This kid does it all. I mean, a lot of people hate on him. I was skeptical because he just talks so much trash, but it's all calculated.
Okay, so you think it's more of an act, because he's definitely a controversial figure.
I think it's an act.
Is there any YouTube content where...
I mean, he's always been
he's a prankster, right? Yeah, so he's controversial naturally. It seems like he's pursuing that same character as he builds his boxing persona.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. And he's good at it because he's pretty much acting, and then everyone's just getting riled up. And then I was on YouTube, his knockout got 6.1 million views in 14 hours. He's pushing the needle.
Yes. The thing that shocked me was I opened the ESPN app up this morning, and last night the Patriots played a tough game against the Colts, primetime TV. And what was the first thing on ESPN? It was the Jake Paul knockout, not the primetime NFL game.
Yeah.
It's saying something. But he's obviously a content creator as well. And one other creative approach is that before him, he tends to have an elite woman boxer fight to promote it. Yeah. Do you think that has the chance to really catch on? I mean, because now we're seeing the same top woman boxer coming in. I believe last night it was Amanda Serrano.
I mean, I don't know, but she's making a lot of money. I saw something on Twitter where she said, "Oh, I'm finally a millionaire," because I guess women. It's not like the UFC, but the UFC kind of sprinkles in the women fighting with the men. Like Amanda Nunes fought below, or on the same card as Dustin and Charles Oliveira last week.
Yes.
So boxing doesn't do that. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Dude, kids...
It's making a lot of noise.
It's what he's doing.
Yeah, it's unprecedented.
He's only 24 years old.
And he doesn't have that much boxing experience.
No, like 3 years.
What do you think is next for him? Do you think he takes the fight with Tommy Fury?
I think he fights Tommy Fury because he's considered a boxer. He's got Tyson Fury, his older half-brother, who will be there at the fight, training, promoting it. So it's kind of, because now everyone's saying, oh, you got to fight a boxer. But I mean, last night he called out Jorge Masvidal, called out Nate Diaz, called out McGregor, called out Kamaru Usman. But then we were talking about this earlier, how Dana White has all these guys under contract, so he really determines if they're allowed to fight or not. I was thinking Dana White should just send over somebody somebody that, I mean, because right now the UFC is, Jake Paul's just, Dana White this, Dana White that. I don't know why Dana White just doesn't send somebody over to just
someone 190 pounds,
that's the other thing,
talent.
Because he's choosing all these guys that fought at 170, where a lot of times they probably walk around at 190, 200 and cut down to 170, where Jake Paul's probably walking around, I don't know, he's probably walking around like 210.
Yes.
So he's naturally bigger than these guys. Where he'd have to, if you fight somebody closer to his weight, it'd probably be a UFC middleweight, so somebody that fights at 185, which could play a different factor.
Yes.
But
maybe give us a little bit of background on Tommy Fury and Tyson Fury as well, if people don't follow boxing as closely, just why they're so important and why that would be a huge fight.
Yeah, so Tyson Fury is the heavyweight champ right now, the WBC. Boxing's weird because there's a bunch of different belts. I don't really know too much about all the belts right now. I think Tyson Fury is the WBC champ. He just beat Deontay Wilder, but he's like 31-0 and 1 draw. And he's a beast. He's 6'9", gypsy. They call him the Gypsy King because the whole idea is his bloodline used to bare knuckle fight back in the day over in Britain, and then whoever was the toughest guy, the champ, would be known as the Gypsy King. So that's his nickname. But Tommy Fury is his younger half brother, I believe, who's 22 years old, 7-0, and he's closer to Jake Paul's size. So he's 6 feet, and he probably walks around 200. But he's 7-0, up and coming. They've had a little beef back and forth on social media. Tyson Fury's getting into it. Their dad's getting into it. I bet that's the next thing, but I don't know. I mean, the guy can pick. Everyone wants to fight him.
Yes. Yeah, it's just a hype machine. Do you think this is great for the sport of boxing? Do you think it's good? Is it bad? Is it because when you grow up, not a lot of people say, "Hey, I want to be a boxer." Does this have any impact on the sport as a whole?
I don't know. I mean, pro boxers are getting asked that question all the time, and from what I've seen, some people are saying no. Some people hate it. Some people say it's good for the sport, but I mean, it's definitely making an impact. I mean, it's hard to say.
It's just a roller coaster.
It's legit a movie.
Yeah. I was thinking Jake Paul has won every single fight now. I don't think anyone saw it coming to this point. And it's a huge accomplishment what he's done. Even if he goes on to fight some of these top boxers and he loses. Won, dude. I mean, he's won 5 times in the ring. We hear about how difficult that is to step in there one-on-one. These are clearly some tough people going at it. So something to his credit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Any other big takeaways? You've been taking some boxing classes, seeing how difficult the sport is. Just what does it really take?
Yeah, respect. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm new to it too, but it's crazy, and it's entertaining to follow along, and it's nuts. It's hard to wrap your head around what he's doing.
Hey, takeaway. At the end of the day, he's knocking out professional athletes, different backgrounds, but there's still something to be said for that. Any other big highlights you want to bring up, or I guess we're all just going to have to wait and see where it goes from here. This is something I haven't seen anything like it.
I guess what's your take?
I would say my take is unbelievable, because at the end of the day, Jake Paul is fighting people who've been in professional athletics for years and years. They've been training their bodies. I mean, you could tell he was tired after maybe round 2 or 3. He was exhausted, but he still had the energy to pack this huge punch on a person who's been physically training year after year since he was a very young person. So, I mean, just there, Jake Paul's at a disadvantage coming in. Maybe Tyron Woodley isn't a known boxer, but it's not like Jake Paul has been boxing for 10, 15 years either. And he's going in there, and when you see that highlight, you can hear that hit. That is something else. He was out cold. I mean, if you lined people up, a lot of them probably couldn't even deliver the type of power to knock someone out with a clean shot. So I would give a lot of credit, and we'll just see where it goes from here.
Yeah, crazy.
Yes. Either way, it's something interesting, great entertainment. We had to talk about it today because it's big news, and we'll see what happens. But it was funny. It was funny to watch last night.
Yeah.
Hey, until next time, interesting events, and we'll see you.
See ya.